Hi, I'm Jacob,
Hi, I'm Michael.
and today we're reviewing our singles by Natural Gas. We have a promo EP that was put out and a promo version of Once Again a Love Song. So we'll discuss those and just the album in general. So the album Natural Gas came out in May of 1976. This EP didn't come out until August, so this was kind of a retroactive promotion for the album. Let's talk about just the band overall. This was a super group which was made of many different members, Joey Mullen from Badfinger being one of them. How did you first hear of Natural Gas?
I somehow knew Joey Mullins in the new group from Badfinger because obviously he was a Badfinger fan.
And this EP is pretty interesting because I'd say it plays into that supergroup element pretty strongly. Each song on here is written by primarily one member of the band. So starts off with The Right Time, which is Mark Clark, and I Believe It's Love, which is Jerry Shirley and Joey Mullen. And then You Can Do It with Peter Wood and Mark Clark, and then finally I've Been Waiting with Joey. So you kind of get different lead vocals on each song. So it is a good sample of the album and that supergroup element. The Right Time was the first one. It kind of is the leading promotional single from the album as well. It was also the first single on a 45 outside of this. What were your thoughts on that?
Well, the thoughts on The Right Time mirror the thoughts of much of the production on the album, which was that the instruments were being played pretty well and it was an interesting song, but the production I think sounded a little maybe not as fine as it could have been, or a little muddy for lack of a better word. The whole thing was exciting because Joey Mullen was back. And we had heard nothing since the tragedy of Pete Ham taking his life, and things were more than quiet. It was history already. Again, it was just exciting to me because a group was back that Joey Mullen was in. But I enjoyed the numbers that were written by the other members of the group. I never, from the first listening onward, ever put them on the same level as the Joey songs, of course. But The Right Time seems like it's produced decently, and it's got a punch in it. The song has a punch in it which caught your attention.
It has probably a more mid-70s sound to it than the other songs we've been listening to from these artists. I think it's got kind of a Billy Joel piano piece, which was more common. It's very poppy. It's got a nice groove in certain sections. It seems a little similar to other aspects of the album, which is good. I don't know that it's hard for this album to pick one single that really stands out. It's pretty cohesive, I'd say, and the production is part of that as well, which I think Natural Gas themselves didn't like, where they weren't even allowed in the studio when it was being mixed. But he uses the lyrics, I've Been Waiting, which is similar to the song that's also on the EP, and then a lot of the piano parts sound similar to Little Darling and some of the other songs on there as well. So I think it's great, and it's a very strong album. As a single, it's hard to say that this stands far and above the rest of the songs, but that was their choice. Okay, so the second song they chose is I Believe It's Love. A nice ballad, but it has some chops to it. It's got a steady drum beat throughout and some nice bass playing. So it's like a ballad plus, which fits in nicely for a single.
Always liked I Believe It's Love, and I've always thought it was a pretty melody. Like much of the album, it's got its own production really. It's something less than, to me, it sounded like a big push was put behind this. It was more like something turned out, they wanted to get it out quickly, the oil, but
it makes you wonder on the production side, because we read Mal Evans produced some of the demos, but then as a result of asking for too much money and then passing away, not right in the middle, I guess, of kind of them polishing up these songs, they went in a completely different direction. I think the demos were released on maybe bonus tracks on the latest version, but I'd be curious to confirm whether or not those are the Mal Evans produced versions and then how much they differ, or if this was just the sound of 1976 that was kind of put to these songs. Yeah, we flip over the album, and the third song, I'll call it, I guess on the B-side, is You Can Do It.
You Can Do It, to me, from the time I first heard it, the context of this album, it should be said, was also that, Badfinger had been gone. Just in a similar way as to how they maybe filled the void left by the Beatles a little in your heart when Badfinger came along. This album, I wouldn't say it replaced the void of Badfinger, but it helped. It soothed you a little bit because there had been nothing, nothing. And so this song, You Can Do It, to me, also reminded me of a Tom Evans type vocal. I thought it was a beautiful vocal.
It's probably the bubbliest song on the album. I think this is like again, of the singles, that if you had to pick one, this might be the easiest, the most radio friendly. I think there's a little bit of over-instrumentation to it. Again, I know it's the mid-70s, but potentially that could have held it back a little bit or made it less friendly to the first listen. But on an album, again, it's strong. It balances out some of the heavier rock songs as well. Then the final song, the pick from Joey, is I've Been Waiting. And hearing it, I guess, on the back of this EP, as kind of the last track, that riff really grabs you, the way it kind of fades in and everything. I think it is actually well placed on an EP. And the way that it's so rigid, the way that riff comes in and then the vocals kind of skate around it. Yeah, strong close to it, great Joey song. I know he did play that one live quite a bit on the tour as well. Converts very well to a live audience.
Loved it. Loved it. Joey was definitely back, and had a great slide guitar in it, which I assume he was playing. Tremendous slide. Basically, I looked at it at the time like Joey Deliver. He was the rock guy, and great riff.
So that's the first release after the album. This is an EP. This is the first promotional material. And the next thing you would have heard was Right Time with Dark Cloud on the B-side. Then after that, once again, a love song in October with You Can Do It on the B-side. So basically, it's almost easier to talk about the 3 songs on this album that weren't singles, because they used almost every song on here and recycled it, almost putting out feelers, I think, to see if any of these would get radio play or garner some momentum behind them. So then the single, the second single off the album after the Right Time, being once again a love song, and we have the version both mono and stereo. Didn't hear much of a difference. It's kind of mixed right down the middle anyway.
I think once again, the love song is superb. Rather complex in the way guitar work that comes in descending kind of pattern at the end. Beautiful song, beautiful harmony. Probably the most beautiful ballad on the album, you'd have to say. Felt
like a great Joey ballad, not necessarily a hit song I would listen to outside of the context of the album. Because I heard Natural Gas after Airways, I always thought it was very similar to The Dreamer, though I know that was written later, but kind of the build-up in the chorus and everything. And this one maybe isn't, they're all positive. I know it comes from but it has a positive perspective.
Yes, it does. It did. The album and the group, he arrived in a very positive way, exuberant, and there was that element to it.
So we usually do a rating at the end of these. This one's a bit difficult because I'm not even sure what we're rating. None of these feel like really strong conviction behind being one single that we can put our finger on. I think we'll rate the EP overall. I think that's the most representative of the album. There isn't really a clear single, but there is this sense of a supergroup. 4 different members contributing 4 different types of sounds. I would give it a 6 out of 10. I think it is representative of the album. I guess I don't really see a purpose of the EP. I would never pick these 4 songs specifically to listen to, but it's a good set of songs.
I'm close to where you are. On this EP, I think there's songs that really are better and more put together and more well written. And then there's ones that are very listenable, but perhaps not on the same level, which to me kind of counteracts it a little bit. So despite loving the Joey songs, I think I'd have to go 5.
Well, and I believe they started sessions for another album, but it was never to be. So this is the only piece of Natural Gas history. So the next thing that we'll see is another Badfinger album.
See you then.